How do you get kids to behave without using rewards and punishments? Hi, everyone. I'm BJ Muir from JesusHelpMeParent.com, and I help you become the parent your kids need so they can grow into the people Jesus is calling them to be. Now, if you're like me, you've seen this problem a lot where families are working with their kids, wanting them to behave. And the way they do that, they start offering rewards. Okay, if you do your job, I'm going to give you this. Oh, we'll have a cookie tonight at dinner time. Oh, we'll have extra iPad time. Oh, we'll do. And what ends up happening, though, is that the rewards start having to increase for the same behavior. The rewards increase and the rewards increase. And before you know it, you're giving out rewards just to get shoes on and get to the door. And it's like, oh, well, let's go out for ice cream every Friday night, anytime you get your shoes on and go to the door the right way. And you as a parent start feeling like this isn't right. Similarly, on the other side, you start punishing a kid for doing the wrong thing. And you start taking things away, privileges away. Oh, you got to go to bed a half hour early. You can't play with your iPad now. You can't play with it for a day. You can't play with it for a week. You can't play with it for a month. I'm having your iPad for the next 6 months. And before you know it, you've got punishments that are so severe because you're just trying to discourage your kid from moving forward in the wrong way. And now you don't want to back up that punishment. And sometimes it actually turns out to be a punishment for you because it's so high, right? And now you've got this again. This doesn't feel right. What's the problem going on here? The problem is we're not going deep enough into the heart. Now, before I go on, I want to make sure we define our terms here. Let's talk about rewards and punishments. Punishment is different than a consequence. I'm not telling you that we're never firm with kids, that there aren't consequences for behavior. But what I am saying, punishment is different. Punishment is punitive. Punishment is sort of making a kid pay for what they did. Consequences are different. Consequences are noticing the relationships in life. Hey, you know what? You decided not to do your homework when you got home from school. The family's going to start watching a movie. You can't watch right now because you have homework to do. I'm not punishing you. As soon as you get your homework done, come and join us. It's just a consequence of the choices that you made. So, consequences are different. They are not punishments by a nicer name. They are a very different way of supporting a kid. And when I say we're not using rewards and punishments, I'm not saying this is loosey goosey. We're going to approach this with a heart based approach. You see, before I even move on further, I want to help some families out there. We have some families who tune in here regularly who might have some kids who are on um, some extreme end in terms of human behavior. They might have some special needs of some kind. They might be a kid who doesn't even understand the relationship between cause and effect. I'm not talking about that child at this moment. Some of our kids need some charts and stickers and stars and things like that to help them even know where to go in life here. And so I would say, let's look at that child as a unique creation of God, and let's take what God's truths are and apply them in that situation. Let's continue to move forward in a heart based approach because a heart based approach works with that kid too, but it's going to look a little bit different for that kid. Similarly, you might be hearing me say, I'm never allowed to use the sticker chart. What about potty training? There are a few spots in life where we're trying to teach a very basic skill where something like a little sticker chart might help us because it's a temporary, momentary thing. But the problem is when this becomes a routine habit in our parenting, we're only going to have to increase this more and more and more. And before you know it, we're giving rewards out that are way too great for the behavior we're trying to get. And eventually they don't even work either. And we're consequencing, we're punishing like crazy to the point where we don't even want to back up those punishments because they're just too harsh. And they're still not changing our kid. So, what's the problem here? We're using a behavior modification approach with our kids. And behavior modification is incomplete for an approach for parenting. You see, behavior modification is all about weighing out costs and benefits. Costs and benefits. If you do this, you get this. If you don't do this, this is gonna happen. And really, behavior modification works. You can change behavior based on that. There's no doubt about it. But what behavior modification can't do is change the heart. That's deeper. Picture an iceberg. The problem with an iceberg is never what's on top of the water. It's what's underneath the surface that's the real danger to ships. The same is true for kids and all human beings. The behavior is just showing us a little bit. It's the 10% above the water. The heart, the Bible tells us, is where the real trouble lies and where we need to be focusing our attention in our parenting, because that's where God focuses his attention in his parenting of us and our children. We want to focus on the heart. When we're using a more behavior modification approach, when we're using sticker charts and stars and rewards or huge concept of punishments, we are actually working against ourselves. You see, because what we're building up inside of our kids is we're using selfishness to motivate our child to do the right thing. I'll do the right thing. If I get that candy on Friday, I'll do the right thing if I get that dollar. I'll do the right thing if I get that sticker. But if I don't get those things, well, I'm not going to bother. We're using selfishness to motivate our child, and we're actually strengthening that part of the heart when that's exactly what we're trying to not do with our kids. So, how do we shift? What do we need to do instead? We need to use a heart based approach to start strengthening positive areas inside our child's heart. We want to strengthen things like a sense of obligation, a desire to cooperate, to do what's right instantly, completely, and cheerfully when I'm told to. We want to strengthen a sense of ability to care for others. That we don't do that because we care about others. We want to strengthen peace in our child so they can learn how to be a peacemaker with their sister, with their brother, with their friend, when they have the toy that I want, when they're doing something I want to do and I can't do it right now. We want to build up that sense of peace. And you might be saying, BJ, how do I do that? I can change kids' behaviors. How do I change their hearts? Well, two things. One, you can't, right? Only Jesus can. But Jesus has given us some tools to use that can set our child up for the best likelihood to have a changed heart. What has he given us? Well, first thing he's given us is an understanding of what's happening in our child's heart and conscience. You want to become fluent at what's going on inside your child's heart. You want to be able to see your child's behavior and start telling yourself, I see the behavior. Here's the belief behind that behavior. Here's the heart quality, the negative heart quality in my child, and here's the positive one. You want to start growing in your knowledge of the heart so you can do that. And even growing in your knowledge of the conscience. There's 4 areas of the conscience that scripture tells us about. We want to be able to identify when we see a child behaving a certain way, what area of the conscience is that? For example, a child who seems to always run and grab the best cookie, the biggest slice of pizza, who cuts in line, who doesn't seem to care when another kid falls down and gets hurt. That child's area of the conscience caring for others is a bit weaker. Kid who struggles with lying, being honest. That kid's struggling with being honest. That area of the conscience. A kid who doesn't want to admit when they've done something wrong, doesn't want to confess. They're struggling with the deal with wrongs area. And then there's the do what's right. That kid who, when you tell them to go pick up their room and come back and report back to you, heads off and goes and reads a book or plays outside, and they don't do what's right. Being able to look at behaviors and understand the beliefs of the heart and where in the conscience they are is key to your success, to parenting at the heart level. Second thing you want to do is use the tools that God's given us to help your child. God's given us tools like relationship, like visioning, like firmness. Yes, firmness is a tool God's given us as well. Like teaching and coaching, transferring responsibility, prayer and scripture. These are all wonderful tools that God's outlined in scripture for us that we can use as a parent when we're talking about, okay, my kid is struggling with this behavior. Lying, honesty is the opposite. My child is struggling in whatever that negative behavior is. What is the positive one? Then we get out our toolkit as a parent and we start building the road to get there. We ask ourselves, what am I going to do? How am I going to help my kid learn the skills they need? When they can't tie their shoes, we know, the opposite of that is being able to tie shoes. What do? I'm going to show them this. We're going to watch this little YouTube video on it. We're going to sing the little bunny song about it. And I'm going to show them how to tie their shoes. We're going to practice it. My kid can't ride a bike. My kid needs to ride a bike is the opposite. How am I going to teach them that? We're going to get a bike. We're going to get training wheels. Maybe you're a glider family, but you're going to come up with the steps that work for that kid that you know will help them grow. The same is true for heart qualities too. There's a negative quality. There's the opposite positive one. How do you grow? What are the things you're going to do as a parent to teach them along the way? Just like we teach them to tie their shoes and ride their bike and things like that, we want to teach them how to develop these heart qualities as well. The third thing we're going to do here, we're going to address these problems by working on the solutions. We're not just going to sit here complaining about our kid. We're going to do what I've just talked about. Focus on the solution, not the problem. Because when I'm solution focused, that's growth focused. And I can be positive with my kid and motivate them forward in their action rather than just talking about how bad things are. That's not going to help. It's not bad to compare where they were with where they're going. But when all I do is focus on the negative, it's just going to defeat my child and defeat me in a lot of ways because I'm not focused on how to get there. I don't get to Disney World by focusing on my house and focusing on my yard. I have to focus on Disney World and I got to focus on the route to get there. Otherwise, I'm never going to make it there. I think about a lot of times when we have siblings who are fighting. And parents can feel really overwhelmed in those moments when their kids are starting to yell and scream and fight over the toys or whatever it might be. What you want to do in those situations, you want to pause and ask yourself, okay, which one of my siblings can I start asking? Which one of my kids should I look towards and identify what heart quality we need to work on and coach them through this process as well? In fact, here's that special announcement I mentioned I would be talking to you at this point in this video. I have a free parenting webinar coming out, and you are invited to it. It's called 3 Secrets for Solving Sibling Conflicts Without Threats, Punishments, or Bribes. All right? 3 secrets for solving sibling conflicts without threats, punishments, or bribes. Do you want to be a part of that? If you do, go ahead over to JesusHelpMeParent.com/register and sign up. I'm running several webinars in the coming days. Join me at one of those. I'd love to have you there. Again, JesusHelpMeParent.com/register to register and save your seat for 3 secrets for solving sibling conflicts without threats, punishments, or bribes. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be together. Lots of us will be there together. I've got some great little bonuses to hand out to folks who show up live. So again, head over to JesusHelpMeParent.com/resources if you want to join me on my free parenting webinar. It's coming up real soon. If you like this video and found it really helpful, would you give it a thumbs up and feel free to share it on social media with your friends so they can give it a thumbs up and enjoy it and benefit from it too. And hopefully I might get to see them as well at that webinar too. That's all for tonight. I'm coming on tomorrow, actually. We're going to be talking about different topics this whole week. I'm going to be on live just about every single night. So I hope to see you back here tomorrow real soon. Bye, everyone.